Hello everyone. It's James again. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about the importance of self-control and having control over your emotions. See, in years past, men were known for their ability to have sharp emotional control and the ability to be deep thinkers. In order to solve a variety of life situations, this control over one's emotions was paramount in the survival of one's self and the survival of one's family. However, as we've talked about before, men and women have both been brainwashed by their surroundings in order to give up their natural instincts of survival. And one of those instincts for the male is emotional control and the ability to be able to think with rational thought. Now, why is the topic important? And why do I bring this up? Quite often I will see men start to wake up and gain a little bit of knowledge of things that are now obvious and overt attempts to emasculate men and to erode the value of men in today's society. And with this newfound information they get upset. And their emotions take over. Their emotions take over so much, they miss the entire point of why they, the males, and also females, are brainwashed to begin with. They don't realize there are several layers of the onion waiting to be carefully peeled. But it takes this individual to have their emotions in check before they embark on such a journey that will lead you to understand that you aren't the only one being brainwashed. But many don't make it that far. Many start to wake up in the small amounts of truth they learn, but fall right back asleep in their own anger due to these truths. I say this because it's a profound thing. Many must realize that there is a larger truth to learn than the one you learn at surface level. And also, quite simply, I don't want the men in the world to fall into the same trap as many women fell into during the feminist movement. You see, the feminist movement started off with normal women just wanting the right to fair pay and the right to vote, which we can all agree upon that this should just be common sense for any human being to have. No matter what you look like and your gender, you deserve to be treated with the same human rights and fairness as the next person. But what happened was, another group came along and took over this movement, pushing a different agenda that has nothing to do with human rights. It was an agenda that was first shown to be anti-male. But that's when you look at it at first glance. But if you peel the onion far enough, it's clear it was always anti-family from the get-go. By this time, the good decent women that were just working on the human rights aspect of things were taken over by this other group of women that had radical thoughts that all men were evil. Women don't need men. Single motherhood should be celebrated. And men aren't needed to raise a child. And all of this went on and on, until it completely drowned out the voices of the good women that were family-oriented, that just wanted to have fair treatment if they needed to enter the workforce, and they wanted their vote to count. Fast forward to our time, our year, our era, and we have men being trampled on by divorce courts all over the place. Women being taught from all of the propaganda and things they see on TV that breaking down a man to nothingness is their right, and it is to be celebrated. And what is happening now is some men, and I stress some men, are waking up to this fact and speaking out. However, they aren't speaking out from a perspective of having their emotions in check, and by doing so are falling into the same trap of feminism that will more than likely end in the same result. And that result is, the family will not unify. The family unit will not be made strong. And men and women will not be able to have successful relationships, which is the intent of the brainwashing to begin with. Brainwashing that happens to both men and women. Now, does that mean man should put up with a brainwashed female? No. And in case you didn't hear me the first time, I will say it again. No, because truth be told, your chances of knowing a brainwashed woman from a woman with no conscience that is a true narcissist, sociopath, or psychopath is almost impossible, and not worth the risk to try to figure out which one is which. However, during the educational process, such as information that is given out that helps to wake people up needs to reflect the truth of this brainwashing and who it's directed towards. Because we need to realize, we all go on our own personal journeys. And you never know what you might say or do that will click and resonate with someone you don't even know. How toxic conscienceless women will be separated from the women that are just brainwashed is through education and their own personal life journey and waking up. As mentioned before previously, I have received countless messages from men waking up to watching some of my videos. But also I have received messages from women stating the same thing, women that were coming to terms with they have been lied to from day one on how to have a relationship with a man. And they were peer pressured by their so-called friends into doing things that were against the very man they professed to love. And doing things that were against them being a good mother. But they didn't know what else to do because it's all they knew and it's all they were brainwashed to believe. Women that were taught from an early age from all the things they had seen around them. A good man was considered a sign of weakness. And running this man through the ringer was her rite of passage, and it was to be celebrated by her and her peers. Women that were taught the way to have a successful relationship is to dominate a man and to put him in financial bondage. Women that have been taught they will have a more happy marriage if they cheat on their husbands, and women that have been taught all of this have been taught a lie. Women's minds that have been so scrambled by this mess. And men that are taught they are powerless to do anything about it. This is why I tell you, put your emotions in check. And look at the deeper picture. Yes, the condition of males today is enough to make one angry and upset. But if you want to fix the problem, you can't do it with an angry mind. But with a mind that thinks clearly about what has really taken place. And how to educate one another on such truths. And when that happens, you will have a select few that choose to go through the process of waking up. To be able to see the writing on the wall. And to be able to say, hey, I finally get it. And they can then have successful relationships. But if you boil over in your own anger, men will be just following the same toxic plan as the feminist with the same end result. No family unit. And separation from having successful relationships with women. With that being said, again, men do not put up with a toxic and or brainwashed female. Walk or run as fast as your feet will carry you, because if she is a toxic real deal narcissist toxic type, there is no changing them. And they only get off on your ruin and destruction. They will use fake friendships, gifts and professing of love that are empty to get you back into the fold for abuse. So get away from them as fast as you can. However, the person that is just brainwashed is still doing the same thing as the narcissist, but does have the ability to change. I still say get away from this person and let them learn and gain wisdom on this during their own personal journey. Because some brainwashed people just don't want to be woken up. Some will never be. But sometimes circumstances in our life shows us things that force us to wake up. Such as a brainwashed woman that no longer has willing participants in her dysfunctional games and dysfunctional life. And by taking away this from her as the best gift of all. By you walking away. And the next guy walking away. And the next guy walking away is doing the brainwashed woman a favor to look within herself and to seek answers to her unhappiness, which often leads them to videos like this one. And thus the journey begins. So what do men need to do about these injustices? We need to educate one another on how to not fall victim of such a woman, regardless if she is toxic or brainwashed. But in doing so, we must tell the truth. But in that truth it must be the entire truth that all can gravitate towards and have the same chance, and that chance is at having a successful, happy family unit. Like I always say, knowledge is power. The more we know, the more we can plain and simply wake the heck up.